Alright guys, the Mr. Olympia has concluded here in Las Vegas. I just got back. It's over 1 a.m. at the moment, so I've actually never, even though I competed at the Olympia, stayed up this late. Well, maybe only to go out to eat, but I watched the whole show, was very excited to be there. But let's cut to the chase. Open and Classic. And you have Met Physique as well, but let's talk about Open and Classic first. So with the Open, I initially thought that, well, honestly, I did think Derek was going to win. But during the finals, as Open is judged not only in the pre-judging, but also the finals, things could change. And I honestly thought Hardy was catching up quite quickly to Derek. Eventually, of course, as we all know, Derek won, but Hardy came very, very close. So that's why I started to doubt quite a lot whether Derek is still the champion. Now, the true surprise of the show, in maybe not so positive way, would be Samson. He was the defending Olympia champion. So, of course, me and a lot of others were watching him in that top four, thinking it would be between him and Hardy and Derek, for example, with Andrew being a solid four, but we were pretty much all wrong. And I have to say in the finals as well, in poses such as the front double bicep and the front lat spread, you could truly see Andrew was pulling ahead of Samson. And Samson was the only one in the prejudging who could make up the most ground by getting fuller. I think they tried to play the conditioning game, but as I am well aware myself, if you are too lean, especially as a tall guy, before a competition, you will not be able to get the fullness back. So what happened to him was he did a guest posing. In that guest posing, which was like 5 or 6 weeks before the Olympia, he already looked leaner than he did at the previous Olympia. And also, if you look at the comparisons between 24 and 25, you could see in last year's Olympia, he looked a lot fuller. And the conditioning, yes, he was a little better this time. But you also need muscle fullness to push against the skin to make the muscle belly appear better, striated, fuller, more vascularity, which ultimately makes you look more conditioned than you might actually are. So he was flatter, which made him lose to Andrew, who actually looked in pretty much every pose, besides like the side chest, as the bigger bodybuilder. And that was Samson's, wild, who was his ace to pretty much be the biggest guy, which this time he wasn't. So the judges saw, okay, Andrew's beating Samson, but then you have got two standout people, and it was very, very close. I heard it was only 1, maybe 2 points difference, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was only one, because as I mentioned, in prejudging, Derek looked to be ahead, but during the finals, maybe Hardy caught up quite quick, and it might have been very, very close. I don't know what the scores are exactly, but I think that's how it went. And the opposite happened for Samson, where he actually lost a little bit of fullness the longer he kept posing. And Andrew was very relaxed, even a little bit nonchalant, which I think for next competition he should take posing even more serious. Even though his personality may not be like this, you could see both Samson, Hardy, and Derek really fight in their poses, be very dominant and serious, where Andrew was a little bit, sometimes too nonchalant and too relaxed about it, which doesn't give you the impression that you really, really want to win it, even though maybe Andrew is just a personality like that. But that would be my personal advice, which I myself have taken as well. Really show everybody, the audience, the judges, you want to be there on that stage and be the champion. And the only way to do that is to show in your poses that you know you are the dominant one. And yeah, you also have some spots like Martin in 5th and Nick Walker, probably in 6th, must be. But Martin really surprised me as well. At Pittsburgh, he of course, he didn't peak very well. He also said he was moving during that time, which I know myself, if you're moving, it takes a lot of mental and physical energy. So you could see that in Pittsburgh in his physique, but you try to block that out and still look great on stage. But at the Olympia, he managed to look perfect. He couldn't have done it any better. He brought the conditioning, he brought the fullness, The only thing he could possibly need is, without messing up his aesthetics, a little bit more overall size. And that's just, he's a young guy, so he can grow little by little and make sure he's closing the gap between him and Hadi and Derek. And of course, Andrew is kind of a hard guy to overcome with mass, but you can overcome him with perfect proportions, a bit more mass, and the conditioning, and of course the presentation. And then Nick Walker, guys. Nick Walker, somebody, when he's standing there alone, you think he is going to be the winner. But unfortunately for him, he wasn't. And the moment that he wasn't in the first call-out, you could see his demeanor go down. And then, his posing stayed pretty consistent, but it wasn't as popping as before. So Nick Walker in 6. But then, my own class, classic physique. And I have to say right away, I cannot hide it, I'm incredibly happy that Ramon Dino won. He's such a nice guy. He's really somebody who deserves it. The moment he won, you could already see in the finals, he noticed that he was the best. You could see it in his confidence, his smile, the way he posed, way more confident than the previous year. So you could really see he knew he had it. When you're peaked right, you simply know, okay, I'm not going to look any better than this. We didn't do anything wrong. Let's just enjoy. And who knows, we might win. And he did. The difference between the prejudging and the finals was Ramon improved a little bit even more, a little bit fuller, which caused him to look a bit more conditioned as well. Muscle pushing against the skin a bit more. Presentation stayed pretty intact as well, markedly improved compared to last time. Whereas Mike, his fullness, because of the height difference, he had to lose quite a lot of pounds, which you could see in his entire physique. The legs were still quite strong, obviously. He was even a bit more sharp and more separated in the legs. But the moment he turned around, you could see the gap in between the legs, which you've always had, but now was made much more apparent, which Ramon Dino did not suffer from at all. Ramon was proportionate. He was just a true classic bodybuilder. And it's almost like too good to be true that he won, right? We all think that it's so impossible for the one who we want to win, or for the one who is actually classic, to actually win the thing, but he did. Ramon first, Mike second. At prejudging, I thought it would be really close. They even had Mike edging him out a little bit, but Ramon came so much better, and Mike maybe, lowered a little bit in terms of how good he looked, in terms of the fullness. That difference was too large, and then the moment Ramon came out in finals, I was like, yes, he is going to win. It was not clear as day. And then we, of course, have third place there, Rough Diesel. From the moment of prejudging, I kind of knew that Rough Diesel would have been third, but you're always persuaded by the way he presents himself. His posing routine at the finals was just incredible. Gave me goosebumps, makes me want to work on my posing as well, because I've never won the best posing award, at least not as a pro. So whenever I would have to battle against him, it would be a very, very tough battle. But it's guys like this that motivate me and a lot of other professional athletes within the classic physique class, maybe even the open class, to do their best even more in terms of posing and presentation. Because ultimately, you can have a very good physique, both conditioned, both muscular, but if you can't present it, it's not going to show, and you won't get the placing you could have. And Ralph Diesel, he simply does not yet have that dominant mass combined with his height to overcome somebody like Ramon, and in this case, Mike as well. So then we have fourth, of course, we have Josema. You cannot deny the conditioning that he has. He looks unbelievably granite hard, which is, I saw him in real life in Pittsburgh from up close. I saw him now this time at the Olympia. He never fails to amaze me and amaze the audience of how dry he looks. And he also works very hard on this posing. I know that for sure. You could see it in his presentation. It is going to be very, very difficult to overcome somebody like Terence Ruffin, but somebody like Josema with his structure, with his physique, landing in fourth, that is really, really commendable. And he has that to thank for his conditioning, his presentation, and of course the muscle mass that he does have in the right places. Like I think he has the best bicep peak of the top 10 perhaps, which makes him have a body part that is, in my personal view, very classic to have. Big old bicep piece, of course. And then number 5, somebody who in my previous video I also said and thought about as somebody who could really end up high. So it's great to see he jumped many places from last Olympia to this Olympia. So the top 5 is incredible. We could see his posing routine at night, which is something I've never done before. So when I'm sitting in the audience there and seeing a guy like him who truly deserves it, a very nice guy as well, to do his routine is just incredible. You could see he really enjoyed it. It's an incredible theater. You know, the goosebumps you get from just being on there, thinking about being on there, being, you know, treated professionally like a true professional athlete is just an amazing feeling to have up there. So yeah, that's the top 5, and it was an incredible top 5 in classic, which is going to make it very difficult for somebody else who wants to make a mark. And yeah, we have some other guys who did not place as well as we hoped they would or thought we would, like Logan Franklin, for example. He was out of the top 10, I believe, even. So, you know, going from a prediction to be number 4 all the way outside of the top 10 means that something was lacking in his physique, which this time was the conditioning, which he did have at the Arnold, and a bit more of that pop he also had at the Arnold. And those 2 things really brought him down quite a lot of places. He is a classic physique, but he has such a physique that he must come in perfect, otherwise he's going to drop a lot of places down, which is what happened to Logan. Yeah, but for the rest, it was an amazing experience to see all this. So yes, guys, that's my wrap up and my conclusion of the Mr. Olympia. Next year I'll be here again, but this time I'll be on stage myself. And I really want to thank the Olympia itself for creating such a great show and everybody else surrounding it. Again, I met so many of you guys here, which was an amazing experience for sure. We were at the Raw and ESN booth. I was at the Gym 80 booth, and every time I was there, so many people, I think about half of you asked me if I was going to do the Open. About a quarter asked me if I was competing like now. I mean, no, I'm 20 kilos overweight. But it was very nice to converse with you guys and to make it, you know, a very fun experience for somebody coming all the way from the Netherlands, all the way to the Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, as Dan Solomon likes to call it. Anyway, thank you very much, incredibly, for watching, for the golden support, and a lot more like this is coming. And don't forget to stay golden.